The dining hall at Andersen Air Base hummed with its usual chaos, metal trays slamming down, boots scraping tile, laughter ricocheting off cold steel walls. Then she entered. Maya Rowe, mid-20s, civilian credentials clipped neatly to her chest. A thin scar cut along her jaw like a lightning strike frozen in skin. The laughter dulled, then shifted shape. "That's her," someone muttered. "The one who knocked out a jet's nav system last month." Another voice followed, louder, smug. "Easy, guys. She might drop a tool and shut down the whole wing again." Snickers rippled through the room. Chairs squealed as people leaned back to watch. Maya didn't respond. Didn't stiffen. Didn't even blink. She walked to the far corner, sat down, and aligned her tray with exacting precision, edges squared, movements controlled. It was the kind of composure that didn't come from training manuals. For a brief moment, the air shifted. Her gaze lifted to the flag beyond the window, steady and unreadable, unbroken. From somewhere behind the laughter came a quieter thought, spoken just loud enough to be heard. "She doesn't belong here." They had no idea how wrong they were. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to Military and Veteran Stories so you never miss these true accounts of courage and sacrifice. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? The following morning, turbine noise rolled across Andersen Air Base like a living pulse. Beyond the runway, the Pacific stretched endless and unforgiving beneath the sun. Inside Hangar 12. Maya moved through the exposed underbelly of an F-15 like a presence no one wanted to acknowledge. Panels open. Wiring exposed. Her hands were calm, exact. The voices nearby were not. "That's the contractor who messed up calibration last month, right?" A young airman whispered. "Yeah, no idea why they still let her touch jets. Probably checking a box." Laughter followed, then died when she turned slightly. Not angry still. A stillness that unsettled them. Maya said nothing. She reached for a torque wrench, corrected a coupling, verified diagnostics. Every movement intentional. Every breath measured. To most of the base, she was just a quiet civilian with a limp and a scar. What they didn't know was that she'd once worn the same uniform they did. Staff Sergeant Maya Rowe, 8 years Air Force. 3 deployments. Her last mission was classified. Afghanistan. Mountains near the coast. A helicopter went down fire. Twisted metal. Screams in the dark. She pulled 2 men free before the blast. The third never made it. When the medevac arrived, Maya left on a stretcher, not only wounded, but carrying something heavier than injuries. Years later, the Air Force brought her back as a civilian avionics specialist. No one asked where her expertise came from. No one dared. She arrived before sunrise. Logged every part. Verified every calibration. Ate alone at the same table no one else used. During breaks, she sketched wiring diagrams on napkins, mapping systems like she was rebuilding something invisible. There were signs no one noticed. The way she folded napkins into precise triangles, the same folds used for field maps. The way she stood during morning colors, heels together, hands still. The empty wrist where a watch once lived, marked only by a pale tan line. People see only what they want. In the crew room, jokes followed her like static. She acts like she's on some secret op, or just thinks she's smarter than everyone. They laughed because laughter was easier than respect, and she heard all of it. Captain Blake Monroe noticed her too. Decorated. Loud. Mid-30s. The kind of officer who believed authority was measured in volume. He spotted her inspecting a damaged flight computer and called out, voice echoing across the hangar. "Hey, Rowe, try not to turn this one into a bonfire, yeah?" Chuckles followed. "Yes, sir," Maya replied calmly, never lifting her eyes. Monroe frowned. He'd expected pushback, excuses. Instead, he got discipline. Something about her bothered him, too precise, too formal, too military. He dismissed it. "Move it. I want these birds airborne by 1400. From behind a tinted office window, Wing Commander Aaron Doyle watched. 50s. Quiet. A legend who didn't need to raise his voice. He studied Maya, the way she worked, the way she favored her left leg. "That one's not new," Doyle murmured. She's a civilian tech, sir, his aide replied. Doyle didn't look away. Maybe, but she works like someone who's seen things manuals don't cover. Days passed. Patterns formed. Maya arrived first, left last, fixed what others missed, and the whispers grew. She's hiding something. She faked her credentials. She thinks she's better than us. The words slid off her like rain on steel. But sometimes, alone beneath dim hangar lights, the cracks showed. She traced the scar on her jaw, staring into polished metal. For a split second, fire screams. Orange sky. Then a breath, slow, controlled, and back to work. At 0700 sharp, she paused mid-step and saluted the flag. Instinct, not regulation. She's not even active duty, someone scoffed. Maya didn't correct them. Some habits aren't meant to fade. The mockery eventually found rhythm. A joke here. A smirk there. Laughter lingering just long enough to sting. During an equipment check, hope she doesn't fry another system. Maya tightened a connector. Ran continuity. Numbers steady. Later in the canteen, someone called across tables, "Hey, Rowe, what screwdriver took you out?" Snickers. Maya folded her napkin. Took a sip of coffee. Silence followed. Not respect, but dismissal. On the flight line, Pacific wind cut through fuel and heat. Inside Hangar 12, Monroe made a show of it. "If you'd ever been in combat," he said loudly, "you'd know these systems aren't toys." "Yes, sir," Maya replied evenly. Her obedience was mistaken for weakness. That was the part they enjoyed, until the jet failed alignment. Twice. Then a third time. The sortie window shrank. Monroe seized the moment. "Rowe, recalibrate the egg. 15 minutes. In front of everyone." Phones came out. Betts whispered. "Yes, sir." Maya stepped forward. She repositioned the cart. Verified power. Grounded the system. No wasted motion. No panic. She purged stale data. Entered coordinates by muscle memory. 10 minutes. She reseated a connector not because the book said to, but because it felt wrong. 8 minutes. She accessed a diagnostic screen most techs forgot existed. Adjusted drift. Green. 5 minutes. "Done," she said. The hangar went quiet. Monroe swallowed the speech he'd prepared. "Well, guess even civilians can follow instructions." The laughter that followed sounded thin. Maya met his eyes once. "Jet screen for sortie, sir." Then she turned away. Rumors adapted? She got lucky. Someone helped her. Timer was generous. They needed the myth. Skills demand accountability. By Friday, the pace intensified. Monroe tossed her a data cartridge. Rebuild and reload. Try not to wipe the fleet. "Yes, sir." She rebuilt it flawlessly. When Monroe joked again, she handed it back without comment. "Good hunting, sir." Their fingers almost touched. They didn't. Later, a hydraulic alert flared. Chaos threatened. Maya moved first. Killed power in the right sequence. Bled residual energy. The warning died. "All right," Monroe said softly, before he could stop himself. The jet stabilized. Afterward, the jokes returned. Maya set 2 cups of coffee on the counter, one beside the comment. Fact, not forgiveness. Lewis found her later. "You handled that EGI like you've done it before?" Pause. "Once or twice," she said. Silence settled, not empty, but shared. At sunset, shadows stretched across the runway like arrows toward tomorrow. Maya stayed until the hangar dimmed. She logged out, closed her locker, touched a photo inside with 2 fingers. Lewis stopped her. "Ever need another set of hands?" Her eyes held his. Appreciated. Behind them, Monroe watched from the shadows. Something in him shifted quietly. Outside, the flag snapped once, then settled, and the base exhaled. A jet scream faded into a low, steady hush as night settled over the base. The evening shift took its places, and a question lingered in the darkness, one only honest people ever hear. If they mocked the scar that once protected them, what would you do? Speak up, or let silence outweigh their noise. Days passed, and something around Hangar 12 began to shift. Not loudly, not suddenly. Just enough to be felt. Curiosity slowly replaced ridicule. Lewis noticed first. He stayed late one night, clearing a ground power unit near Maya's workstation. The hangar was half-lit, steel-washed in blue-gray shadows, the kind of quiet that pressed down on your chest. Her tool bag lay open by her boots, its canvas worn thin by years of use. As she reached for a wrench, the flap lifted and caught the light, an embroidered patch. Flashed silver, an eagle clutching to lightning bolts. Lewis froze. It was an Air Force issue, not maintenance. Not anything he recognized. The design felt older than modern units, older than the stories people usually told. When she zipped the bag shut, the symbol vanished, but Lewis couldn't forget it. That night, in his dorm room, he searched until his phone finally gave him an answer. 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. Night Stalkers. His breath left him in a whisper. No way. The next morning, Maya stood at the edge of the tarmac before sunrise, coffee warming her hands as wind tugged at her jacket. Her reflection moved faintly along the polished skin of a fighter jet half-shadow, half-soldier. By the time the crew arrived, she was already working beneath the aircraft's nose, arms deep in a communications array that had failed overnight. Lewis watched as she worked quiet, its precise sleeves rolled up. When the light struck her forearm, he saw it, a faded tattoo, wings stretched wide, coordinates inked beneath. Military coordinates, the kind that marked crash sites. A pilot passing by chuckled. Looks like rescue squad stuff. Maybe she thinks she's one of them, another added. Maya paused just a fraction of a second, then sealed the panel. System's green, she said calmly. You're clear. Pilot's smile faded. Lewis recognized the look on his face, the look of someone realizing they may have just spoken to a past they couldn't comprehend. Later that day, Lewis glanced toward Maya's locker as she gathered her things. A reflection caught his eye, something tucked inside. A photo. A helicopter wreck half buried in desert sand. Smoke curling into a sun-bleached sky. 5 figures stood nearby, for upright, one kneeling by the tail, hand resting on scorched metal, in the corner. Faint writing, Coast -2015. Lewis swallowed. Before he could look away, Jenkins passed behind him and snorted. Nice wallpaper. Guess even civilians need something dramatic. Maya froze. Just briefly. Some things aren't decoration, she said quietly. The hangar went still. That evening, storm clouds rolled in from the sea. Rain mixed with jet fuel in the air, a smell that always carried memory. Maya worked alone, calibrating sensors beneath harsh fluorescent light, her scar catching every glint. Lewis wanted to ask her everything. He didn't. She looked like someone, carrying weight, not shame. Not regret, but memory. When she finished, she leaned briefly against the jet, eyes closed. Just still, when she opened them, she met Lewis's gaze and gave him a small nod. I see you. That's enough. The next morning, rumors spread fast. Someone found a duplicate of the photo. It passed through hands, through whispers. That's her. No way. Look at the scar. By noon, Captain Monroe had heard. He passed her in the corridor, smirking. Careful, Rowe. Pretending to be something you're not never ends well. Maya stopped, turned just enough for him to see her eyes. I don't pretend, she said. Something flickered across his face. Then it was gone. That night, Lewis confirmed everything. The coordinates from her tattoo led to an Afghan crash site. HH-60. Loss of crew. She hadn't been lying. The scar wasn't an accident. It was survival. The emergency. Drill came on a humid Thursday. Full simulation. Real pressure. Commander Doyle wanted chaos. At first, everything followed the script. Then it didn't. An alarm screamed. Smoke curled beneath the fighter. Another sharp pop. Burning hydraulic fluid flooded the air. This isn't simulated. Someone shouted. Confusion fractured the hangar before orders could form. Maya dropped her clipboard and ran straight into the smoke. Kill master power now, she shouted. Someone hesitated. She didn't. Power died. The fire eased. Maya slid beneath the jet, moving on instinct older than thought. Signals flashed from her hand. Fast, clean, practiced. She pulled a cutoff valve by bare hand, ignoring the heat. Her scar gleamed silver under red emergency lights. Lewis ran to help. What do you need? Hose, rags. Silence that alarm. They worked together. The fire died. Then she went back in. A young technician was trapped beneath fallen equipment. Maya shoved the weight aside and dragged him free, checking his breathing before the medics arrived. When Monroe stammered, she cut him off gently. I've done it before. Commander Doyle arrived minutes later. He took in the damage. The smoke. Her bandaged hand led the response. He asked, Yes, sir, Monroe said quietly. Doyle studied Maya for a long moment. Sergeant Rowe. The room froze. I know that scar, Doyle continued. Kandahar. 2015. You pulled 2 airmen from a burning pavehawk. Silence fell deep and absolute. You weren't supposed to walk again, Doyle said. You saved lives and vanished before we could thank you. The truth settled heavy in the room. You insulted Doyle, said to Monroe calmly. A night stalker. No one laughed now. Later, under open hangar doors and lowering sun, Doyle ordered the crew to attention. 30 people raised their salutes. Maya didn't return it. She didn't need to. Doyle lowered his hand first. Some people wear rank, he said. Others carry it. The scar along her jaw caught the light. No one mocked it anymore at sunset. Set. Maya sat by the runway fence, coffee cooling in her hands. Jets roared overhead, lifting safely into the sky. Lewis joined her quietly. The sound, she murmured, means someone made it home. They sat in silence. Later, alone, Maya faced the flag and raised a slow, perfect saluting scene. Unrecorded. Some missions never really end. Some scars don't mark what was lost. They mark what survived.